Welcome to my virtual campfire. I am so excited today to talk to Michelle Campbell about experiences, about how we experience the universe here on Earth, and share some stories. So, Michelle, welcome to Virtual Campfire, and thank you for taking the time today to chat with me.
Hi, Crystal. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. You said that you live in Las Vegas. Do you experience things in Vegas, or can you tell me about how your experiences maybe first started, or the most kind of influential one that kind of shaped you into wanting to know more and just like tell me what you've seen?
Yeah, I'm so excited too. It's so great to be able to talk to somebody who we have the same idea of things. Try to share some of these things out to family or friends or even people who kind of, are on the same wavelength. And very quickly, I'm like, it just isn't, so I'm really excited for this opportunity.
Yeah, it's true. I notice if I start saying a story of like maybe one of my encounters or something to somebody and it's too far over their heads, I can kind of see people like glaze over and I'm like, okay, I need to stop
Right.
and just change the subject
It's like they
because I,
tramp out and they don't even remember exactly that you even said
yes,
anything.
yeah, it's wild to see it, like to see the reaction and then I'm just like, all right, not the right time for this person. We'll move on.
Exactly. That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like just a little bit of history. In 2022, I was in a really big car accident with my husband, and basically our life had kind of like just went downhill and ended up in this really horrible accident, which ended up being like where my life completely transformed, and we both came out of it. And I think something happened during that, and my consciousness has expanded from that point. So since then, things have really been happening for me. But when we got engaged in 2023, that event was the most like magical, no, it's not magic, but magical moment that I've ever experienced. Like the synchronicities, like it's unbelievable almost. And then since then, I've seen things and I'm just more like aware. In fact, I even kind of, I feel like it's a game in life. Like, seeing the symbols and reading the codes and figuring out what they mean for me and stuff. I mean, it's a blast. And I get a little bit embarrassed because my husband will say something, anything, and I'm like, oh, it's the color of the throat chakra, and they're trying to communicate this and this, or and I do that kind of thing all the time. So that's kind of funny. But I've seen UFOs here. My big one was the night that he proposed to me. But since then, I've seen a ton of them, and I've even referred to it as going fishing because we used to live sort of on the edge of the desert where we had this mountain range just right outside of our window. I remember I would just get I'm always photographing the sky and the clouds. It's just so pretty. But I would just snap photos. And then I have an iPhone, and so they have like a live feature. So if you press your finger on it, it kind of plays 3 seconds before and after. Anyways, I was finding UFOs all the time in that. And they aren't really impressive photos. It's still small, but it's without a doubt a UFO. And I've seen one fly over 2 different times over the mountain range. I've seen multiple lighted like orbs come out of the sky, like and drop down, and then just a bunch of small like I even have gone through photos that I've just had for years or photos that people have sent me, and I kind of like zoom in and I'll play with the filters to get the exposure up or down because that won't change. And I found UFOs in photos of like my relatives and things like that. It's so
Hmm.
cool.
That's so cool. Years and years ago, I was at Mount Hood and we had a disposable camera. This is before phones. Like I want to say like maybe 2000 or maybe 2000,
2000.
right
So,
around there.
yeah.
Yeah. And I remember my boyfriend at the time, I snapped a photo of him. And then that day I remember we swapped. I handed him the camera. He turned back around. I stood where he was. And then he snapped a photo of me because the mountain was right behind us. Well, when I developed those pictures, I was looking at them, and in the picture of him, it was like blue sky with the white mountain, nothing else, like beautiful, whatever. But then the one with me, right over my shoulder, there was literally like a saucer shaped thing. And I was like, how could that have, like, there was only seconds between us snapping those photos and it just like showed up. And that was before I even realized like my connection with with non-human intelligence or whatever, like extraterrestrials, like I was so far, didn't even like think I believed at that point. I think maybe I might have been curious, but yeah, I often wonder if you're kind of followed in a
Right.
way.
Right. Yes, no, like I agree. The the story with the first time I saw the UFO, we were at my husband and I. We weren't even engaged at this point, but we were at a park called Majestic Park, and there was this like loop we would walk, and you park up at the top, and then there's a big ramp that goes down to the park and a meandering path, and there's a fork that leads off to softball fields, and the path goes to the bottom of some stairs, which takes you back to the top. So we would do that loop like 5 times. So we're doing that, and we go in like a 6th time and a 7th. And I remember thinking like, this isn't usual, but okay, like I'm along for the ride. And we're walking down the ramp, and Brad he says there's a UFO, and I looked up at the sky, and it was nighttime, and I couldn't see the craft, but I could see lights, and I'm looking, and they looked like stars kind of just at first, because they're small, the brightest white light I've ever seen, but then I realized they were moving in a pattern, and they were going like around something, because I could see them, I think, like come off from the bottom and then disappear over the top, and then when it was behind, I couldn't see the lights, and it just kept doing that. And it was either close and big or far and really big. It was big. And I can remember like he wasn't really reacting, and we even kind of kept walking, and I was thinking like, shouldn't we be more like in awe, or shouldn't we get our phones to take a photo? Like, and it was weird, and we kept walking along the path, and I'm kind of looking back, like, anyways, and we go up along again, and it's still there, and we get halfway down the ramp, and we're staring at it, and then some more of those lights, they shot from where the circling was over this way, and I'm watching, to see if something else happens. And a little bit later, another one shoots out that way. And we continue walking. And so we get to the bottom of the ramp. We're on the path. We get to the fork in the road where you can go off that way to the softball fields where there was softball practices happening. You could hear all the kids and the parents and everything, or we could continue on the road. Anyways, we get to the fork in the road, and all the lights in the park go off. Every light goes off except the one light we were standing under at the fork in the road. And, I hear Brad under his voice say, well, if that's not a sign. And then he proposes to me. And
oh my gosh.
And it was wonderful. And I said yes and everything. And so that happens, kind of forget about the UFO. And actually what's interesting as we talk about it, at that moment, the light goes on, he starts proposing, and there's no sounds, nothing. Like there was a field or two of softball girls and parents there. It just, nobody walked our direction at all. All those people walked apparently the other way, and it just faded, the sound. There weren't the sound of cars or commotion. It just faded, and he proposed, and we continued the walk, and we got to the top. The UFO was gone. And so that was a pretty amazing night, and I've obsessed about it because I keep thinking like, why were they there? And I've concluded they were there for us because no one else saw it, and that's just the way it works. Everyone like trances out that they were communicating to us. That the line of lights going this way, I think, was an indication to get moving, because it was pointing to the direction that we needed to head. And I have 2 thoughts about it that I think that are possibilities. One is that we're related somehow. They're a star family for either Brad or for myself or for the both of us. And he has an extraterrestrial connection, 100%. I don't know if I do, and if maybe it's through him or something. I'm very spiritual, and I'm very connected in that sense. But so maybe they're a family. They're a star family of ours. So that would make sense that they're there, to help. But if not, I wonder, is there a reason that Brad and I were supposed to come together, and perhaps it was their mission, to facilitate this happening. Like with free will, like he could have not proposed. With free will, we could have chosen to leave. I feel like they were kind of there to like hurt us to this point, which is really cool. And then what's neat too is the ring that he gave me that night. Of all the shapes, it happens to be a circle. In fact, it's like multiple circles. Like if you were going to draw a portal like that, the little diamonds that go to the top. So I thought like it's kind of neat, like accepting this is almost like stepping through a portal to a new life. Also, the lights of the ship were like little diamonds encircling like a ring, and this ring happens to be a family heirloom from his family. And so I thought, oh, I could hear Bashar's voice in my head with this. He's like, as he was presenting a family heirloom to me, our family was looming in the air watching us, I'm just like, I get goosebumps like crazy.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's so cool. It's like, I mean, the fact that is most likely, in my opinion, galactic family. And of course, they would like move you together, because I know anytime I get guidance from whether it's extraterrestrial or spirit guides or whatever word I want to use, whenever I get guidance, I always feel this like magnetic kind of pull. And it doesn't always make logical sense. Like if I used my mind, I would be like, I shouldn't be doing this right now. I should be probably doing something more important. But when I feel that pull, I've learned to listen to it.
Nice.
To really like, okay, this is real. Like I need to. And so maybe they're pulling you guys together because your missions align or need to be together in order to do your work. Because I do think Earth is a school, I think we're here to learn and to help people, so I think it makes, or at least it makes a lot of sense to me that I feel like I have a mission. For me, I always feel like I'm supposed to just tell stories with people because that's how we grow as humanity, is like sharing these things and like sharing that amazing experience that you had with your soon to be husband is, I mean, I think it's magic. It's really cool.
I do too. Like, I keep saying magic. I know it's not magic. I know it's real.
Yeah.
But it's hard to, like, what other words to put it on? I'm a, big Bashar fan. To follow your excitement, like you said, you feel this magnetic pull to something, but it doesn't logically make sense. But it's like you have to. It's like if you trust it, it will be okay. That follow your excitement thing. It really,
Yep.
It's a thing. It's for real.
It is. It just like, if I don't do that, like if I don't follow where I'm being pulled and I go along with like my mind and I'm like, okay, I have to get this done. I've found repeatedly in my life, there'll be like blockages that'll show up. Just like where I'm like a car accident or something where I have to totally take another direction. In hindsight, I look back, I'm like, oh, it's because I wasn't following the signs. I need to be slapped in the face sometimes, like, hey,
Right.
look this way, do this.
Well, that's what I was thinking about last night, was the idea of following your excitement and listening to like those shows. People have a hard time hearing their excitement or knowing what it is. And I understand like, the importance of knowing yourself, which takes a lot of work, but once you kind of do, like it becomes clear. And I don't know if you're into video games or not, but like, you have your mission and you've got this little compass and it has a point. And as you move, like the compass moves. And I think like, that's my excitement. So if I'm over here, like I need to calibrate to go for, towards that point again.
Yeah, no, it's true. And like, I mean, I don't play video games, but I do consider life to be a little bit of a game. Like even when I was a kid, I used to think that like I would do experiments actually where I would like think, this sounds really silly, but I would think like a word in my head or something. And I'd try to get someone in the classroom to say the word I was thinking of.
I think that's so cool. I do that too. I'm like, okay, I'm this, like, are you going to say this now? Trying to get my telepathy to force it to work.
Exactly. I was always like trying to like prove to myself that like my telepathy or my psychic awareness like actually worked, because I had a lot of people around me growing up saying like, oh, that's woo woo, don't believe that. You know what I mean? Like to kind of almost, I feel like maybe they were there to help me so that I would do the things where I'm like trying to prove it,
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I remember one time in college, I was playing, we were at a cabin and we were playing a game, and it was like, oh God, what's the name of that game? Pictionary.
Oh.
And my partner and he was like my friend's boyfriend. I didn't even know him. And every time I would be drawing something, I just would telepathically be telling him what I was saying. And every single time he was getting it, and they kept accusing us of cheating. And he was like, even one time he said, I've never even heard the word Elantra. I don't even know how that popped into my head. And I'm just sitting there like kind of laughing, like, oh my gosh, this is working.
That's cool.
And I just remember like thinking like, this is real, like the fact that he had never even heard the word Elantra and then just spits it out, it's like, he's like, where did that come from? I'm like, from my mind.
That's really cool. Yeah, and see another kind of moment that like comes to me when we start talking, like sharing these things is this. I was with my husband and we were at a store like kind of early in the morning, and I remember we were walking down an aisle with a cart, and there was another couple up ahead walking our way also with a cart, and even though I have glasses, I still can't see all that great, and but the woman's like was kind of coming into focus, and my hair is short and curly and dark, and she had like a big poof ball of like platinum curly hair, and I had these glasses. Wait, I was wearing these glasses, but they're clear framed. She had on like these glasses, and she's walking up, and like I remember, like I thought her style was cute and stuff, and I remember thinking like I'm gonna like look in her eyes and say, give her a warm hello with my eyes, like, and so we walked up and we were kind of smiling at each other, and I think we were kind of like laughing a little bit about this. And as we passed, we made like eye contact, and it was really nice, and it was super friendly and very familiar kind of, and we just kept walking, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I had all these like weird feelings and stuff. And as we were leaving the store, I said, I have to say, like, I think something happened when I looked at that woman. And then I realized, I'm like, her hair was opposite of mine, like dark and curly and short, platinum curly and short. I had on clear glasses like this, she had on black glasses like this. And then she also had, her lips were painted like a really bright fuchsia. And I was wearing a shirt that had a pair of fuchsia lips on it. Like that's all it was fuchsia lips. And it was just amazing. And I kind of feel like we connected something, like an energetic something like happened. And so I was telling my husband this, he was like, I was waiting for you to say something. They were next to us at the window at the DMV the day before, but I didn't see them.
What?
So again, I'm like, it's something where I feel like we were supposed to connect.
You were supposed to, yeah.
But free will, like, I looked this way instead of that way.
Yep.
But it happened again. So
because
crazy.
if you're supposed to, if the universe is putting it, aligning it, then you will end up connected. It might take a few times, but right. It's like, I even remember my husband and I that I'm married to now, it's my second husband, but we lived in the same neighborhood for a long time before we met. And I remember saying to him, like, after we had started dating, like, I'm surprised we didn't meet before this, because we were like living in like the same area, like streets apart, and then I started thinking back, like, it would come to me in dreams. Like, I remember this one New Year's, I was at this like karaoke place, and I think I remember him walking in. No way. And and it's like I subconsciously remembered it, but it didn't trigger until after I had said, I'm surprised we didn't, and then I asked him, I said, did you spend like last New Year's at Tallarico's? And he's like, yeah, I was there. And I'm like, I knew it. I saw you then, but it's weird how like we could have met that night, but that wasn't when we were going to meet. We were going to meet whenever we were going to meet. But it's like we started entering each other's consciousness at some point. I don't know.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting, I was listening to one of like the Bashar things, and there was a guy who was him and his wife were trying to get pregnant, and was asking Bashar about that. But the thing that I thought was interesting was like, you're still becoming the parents, the people that your child's spirit agreed to be a child to be born to. So you're still developing to be that person, which is what I thought of when you said that, like you're around, but not quite ready to meet or something.
Exactly.
It's really neat.
I also think that as people, because timelines shift all the time. So like, someone you're supposed to meet right now, that might change because you shifted to a different timeline, or they shifted to a different timeline, or something like that. So I believe that when we start kind of like if something starts entering our awareness, it comes around and then around and then around and then around and then around until you finally like lock in,
I like that.
and
Yeah, right.
depending on like what timeline you're on,
Right.
like some things you might miss. It might have been meant to be at one point, but then
Right.
you spin out of that trajectory or something.
Right, right. I love thinking about it. It's like mental gymnastics. And the thing is like, it is that, and it's that, and it's that, and it is all these things. And I picture like just being a duck and I'm just like riding the waves. Like I'm kind of like staying afloat. And even if I go down for a second, I pop up, but like, just kind of like ride it, and that's sort of like, rather than trying to force anything or.
It's very true. The moment you start forcing it is like when it's like going the wrong direction.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. I really truly believe in divine timing. It's like there's so many times where for whatever reason, I don't know why I can't concentrate on doing something. Like
Mm-hmm.
something I know needs to be done. It's not procrastination. This is like I'm actually the opposite of a procrastinator. I get things done like right away so I don't have to worry about it later. Like that's kind of my personality. And so this isn't procrastination. This is like just like an energy block to do something. Like I needed to go look at an event venue and everything just kept getting in the way and I didn't want to go for some reason. I didn't know why. And but I thought it was a great opportunity to do an event there, and so I was like, why do I keep getting blocked? Why do I keep getting blocked? And then I got an email from the woman who owns the venue that says they have like all of a sudden all these new partners and they're not sure where their organization is going and they have all this like chaos going on within their group. And I was like, that's why I never went to go look at it. Like it was supposed, like I mean basically if I did go, I maybe would have been wasting my time, so which is fine. There would have been some other reason I was there, but like it just made sense then. I was like, okay, I'm having these blocks. I can't seem to get there, but it's because I wasn't even supposed to go.
Right, right. That's so cool though that like that you see that. Like it's just so nice not thinking like, oh, this is just a bad day or this whatever the case is. I've learned to know that like any like fear or doubt or just like any like negative feelings are not the right feelings. Like that's not how I am. That's not the way we are. Now see that clearly and use those for like, okay, what do I need to address or change or whatever the case is.
Yeah. No, I definitely think so. I think like things like fear, I feel like can protect us in a way, but just in our everyday life, I don't think we need to have fear. Like over especially things are changing a lot right now with the awareness and the increased consciousness of seeing activity, say in the sky, and it's making people question like what is that? Is that a drone? Is that an orb? What is an orb? What, is this man-made? Is this,
Right.
did that just shapeshift? Like
Right.
all these things, like, but I believe those are like exciting to explore and see. I don't really have fear over those like things I can't control
Right.
because it's like it is what it is. Whatever conclusion someone wants to come to, it just is what it is.
Right.
But it's not really something to be fearful of. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. I don't. I mean, I know there's all kinds of extraterrestrial races out there. There's positive and negative ones, but I can't help it. I just don't think I'm not worried about a negative races coming and doing things to the earth. I think that we're protected by other races, and they're watching the earth better than we can. So I
Yeah.
feel safe that way.
Yeah, I do too. I feel protected. I've definitely had times when I've let my guard down and I've even been taken over by an entity one
Have
time.
you?
Like, yeah, because I'm very open and before I knew how to protect myself, I think that when you're really open, just like if you say you play with a Ouija board
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really know what you're doing, but you open up another dimension and something comes in, it may not be what you could handle, like it just might be. I think I did something like that, ended up it's tough to, I don't want to like say names or anything, but I basically think someone voodoo dolled me.
Okay. Okay.
And I was so open that I was definitely susceptible to that coming at me. And it wasn't until I want to say like paranormal things were happening, strange. I would like do things and not know I did them.
Wow.
Like it's like something had taken over me. And at one point, my ex-husband, he was like, "What are you doing?" And he said I was like walking into the kitchen, but I was walking strangely, like not like how I would be, because I'm kind of like a fast person. I'm always like doing stuff. And he said it was like I was like in a trance or something. And he said that I turned around and looked at him and said, not a voice that was mine and not a language he could understand.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah. And he said, if I were to guess, I would have said you were speaking in tongues. And I don't even remember. Like, don't even remember any of that. But that was like a wake up call when he told me that that happened. I was like, oh my God,
Do something.
something has taken over me, like beyond my control. But as soon as and this was just a natural thing that happened to me. No one told me to do this. I was meditating about it and I felt compassion and sorry for that entity for having to like leech on to someone else. Like I just all of a sudden like felt bad for it and was like, I'm so sorry that you need me to do your things, but I'm not the right person. Like I just was like, I don't think I can do this. And it's like instantaneously was just gone.
That's amazing.
And then right after that, this is so strange. I saw in my mind a basket in a corner of a hallway and it had like blankets in it and a voodoo doll on the top of it. And like after it all was done, that's when I realized what had happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
that hallway
Uh-huh.
I recognized.
No.
So I knew who did it.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Did you ever confront that person or anything? Wow.
Nope. No, because I wanted to heal from it.
Mhm.
I didn't want to go back.
Right. Totally.
I was like,
smart.
I put up a shield. Like that was the first time I put up a shield around myself. I was just like, I need to protect myself. I don't know why. I don't know anything like that, but I don't need to know why. I just need to protect.
Right. I think that all you did the right thing. Wow, that's really amazing. Your meditation that makes sense because those things feed off of fear, and I think love and compassion are the opposite of that. Exactly. So you're not giving them anything and no food, basically.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
That's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I tell that story is so that if something's happening to people that they can't explain, they don't know what it is, sometimes shifting your vibration into that, like, and it was real. Like, I don't know why I felt that, but I just like, it's hard to say like that feeling of just, it's almost like I could see through its eyes and felt bad for it, But sometimes when people have those unexplained things, it is very fearful because you're that's like part of your protection of like trying to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But just shifting that vibration can be a great tool.
Yeah, I would be so like scared. I'm so impressed that you were able to like calmly meditate about it. Thank goodness.
There was a lot of weird stuff that happened leading up to that, and it was survival at that point where I'm like, okay, what do? I need to just sit here and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say for many years, I've had a pretty decent meditation practice. Like, and maybe even as a child, I think I was meditating. I wouldn't call it that or anything.
Right.
Like my grandparents lived on the lake and I remember just sitting at the end of the lake, just watching the water.
Right. That's, totally
like
meditation.
Yeah. And that was like one of my favorite things to do. Just go sit on the dock. Like,
that sounds nice.
Yeah.
I've been craving being by water. We're in Las Vegas, but I've been craving like water. And when I meditate, I put on sounds of a lake lapping the shore or something like that.
Yeah, water's super important to me. I always have to be close to water. I love the desert, but I have to like be close to it. And last night was a full moon, and I have a saltwater pool in my backyard, and
Mhm.
it's like 39 degrees in Seattle last night. Like it's not warm,
Right.
but we turned the heater on, and I was like hoping it would get up to temperature because I'm not a cold plunger. Like, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, that's not my thing. And so I was like, I saw the steam coming up. I'm like, okay, it's warm enough. And I'm going to say the full moon in the water, like I had been feeling low energy this whole year since the 1st of January. It's been like strange. Like I sleep in later than I usually do. I'm just
Interesting.
like, yeah, it's just been like kind of weird. It's been like kind of like sluggish for me, which isn't usually how I am. Um, and that water last night just like energized me. I
Oh,
woke up
that's
this
so great.
morning, I was like ready to go. I went to the park. I don't know. So it did something. So when I interviewed Daryl Anka, he said that, and this was back in August of 2024, and he said that Bashar thinks that open contact would happen by 2027.
Hmm.
And when he said that, I believed him. I was like, I definitely believe it. Now, since November of 2024, I felt timelines speed up a lot. Like something happened in early November of 2024 and just stuff started happening. And that's when, like, I think the drones started showing up and different things. And I feel like time has shifted a few more times since then. And I actually think that we'll have open contact in this year, in 2025. But I don't know because I think sometimes I'm just overly hopeful,
Sure.
but I feel this accelerated something. Have you felt anything like that?
Well, let's see. I mean, as far as like the open contact, like I completely believe him. And I saw something where he said that in 2025 there will be an event that will make everyone like kind of know
No.
question, we're not
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
And then I saw him say that end of 2026, beginning 2027 is when first contact will happen. And he
Mm-hmm.
gave like two different descriptions of how it might, like, a ship over the ocean that would just stay there for a while,
Mm-hmm.
that wouldn't come onto land to kind of not freak people out, but just for us
Mm-hmm.
to get used to it. And then some other things that would just be in the sky for a long time, kind of thing. And as far as like, I mean, uh, everything does feel like it's speeding up here. Things that are happening in our life are just like kind of moving forward in like leaps. And yeah, absolutely, like we're feeling that. And the timeline shift, I believe like the hurricane in Florida was a timeline shift from total
Yes.
disaster, to a tropical storm, which is like it's so exciting that
Yeah.
to see it happen, like that it
Yeah.
changed. It did change. We changed it.
Yep.
Hearing about like how there are things like resets and stuff always, like then thinking of the LA thing as like a mini reset, and like seeing it that way, I'm like, wow, like I'm watching it happen and I'm aware of it. And it makes it, I feel like like an eye of the storm, as I like, because right now my life is just, it's really good and like peaceful, but I definitely like try to make it that way. And all this stuff is happening around, but I don't know, eye of the storm is kind of the
Yeah.
phrase that comes to mind.
No, I feel the same way. I feel pretty peaceful in my day to day life too, but then I'm watching all this stuff going on. I'm like, I think I'll just meditate a little more.
I will send all of my love, when I meditate. Like that's the only thing I can do really at this point,
Yep.
which
Yep.
does make a difference.
It does. I think it absolutely makes a difference. Like 1000%.
Yeah, and the thing with like this kind of like with energy and that type of thing, it's like it's subtle, it's profound, but it's subtle. So it's not something that you're gonna necessarily. I mean, sometimes you do feel like a jolt, but sending your good vibes and stuff like that. Like it's subtle, but it makes a difference. I promise.
It really does. Yeah. It's so fun to chat with you and hear about your synchronicities and just like how things have come together for you. Yeah, I really want to say thank you, Michelle, for taking your time to chat.
Very cool. Awesome. This has been a blast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so fun. Awesome. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day and definitely take care.
Cool. Yeah, keep your eye out for weird stuff.
Yes, definitely.
Cool.
I will.
Cool.
All right. Much love. See you.